Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to show you how you can make a simple hair tie like the one you see me wear in my videos quite frequently. So we're going to get busy on that, and I'm also going to show you how you can make your own scrunchies, crocheting them. And super easy as well. So let me go ahead and bring the camera over where you can see better, a little close-up of what my hands are doing, and we'll get started. And as far as this quilt you see here, blue's not really my thing unless it's a denim blue. However, I had made this quilt for my mom many years ago. It was one of the very first quilts I made. So it's got a lot of mistakes, and one of the biggest mistakes I made was on my first quilt was dealing with mostly satin. So I've got like three or at least two satin fabrics in here and a satin backing. And I did I hand stitched all this. So anyway, it was one of the things that I obviously got once Mom passed away. And then another thing I wanted to show you that I got was, even as a child, I always knew that when my mom passed away, one thing I always wanted to have was at least one piece, and I wouldn't care about anything else, of her blue glass collection, because she collected blue glass, and just to remember her by. And some of you might have seen my Facebook post where I showed the mushroom, the green glass mushroom. But anyway, this was the blue glass piece I picked out because to me it was perfect because it's a bale wire jar, and I love bale wire jars. So this both represents me and her. And then I looked at the bottom and noticed it's one of the Avon collectibles, so that was kind of cool. But anyway, moving on, let's get to making the tie. So what I've got here is, I'll show you first. I have a pile of different hair ties to go with some of the different skirts and outfits that I have. This is to go with my country blue skirt. This doesn't go with a skirt. I don't wear a lot of pink really, but it goes with a shirt that I like to wear from time to time. And this is to go with my Emerald City skirt that I just made myself. I'm going to be wearing it at my son's wedding because their color is dark green. And then this for when I wear the turquoise shirt with the white hoodie, and I have more of these, but and then this goes with another skirt that you would have seen in that picture of the that I posted a while back of the green crocheted hoodie or hooded cape that I made and put up on my store and sold it within an hour. So anyway, those are just some examples, and I do need to make another one of these green ones for a lady that's doing a custom order on the Emerald City skirt. So I'll be using those same colors to make the hair tie for the video. So if you know how to do your chains, or if you don't know how to crochet at all, I recommend you go check out my How to Crochet 101 series that I will go ahead and link to right up here in the corner. The first video on the series, it shows the lace shawl, but I showed that as the thumbnail because it has a lot of chains in that particular piece. So this learning how to chain stitch is the first thing you need to know. So I'm not going to go really slow since I already have that video on how to chain stitch. And but yeah, once you learn that, there's so much you can do with just a chain stitch, and one of them is making ties for your skirts or for your hair. Now, even though I love Mr. Rain's hooks that he made me, when it comes to using the triple strands, I end up resorting to the aluminum size K hook for this. A 6.5 millimeter. Okay, so if you're going in the metric. Okay, so make sure you get your yarn on there. If you know how to crochet, you should know how to do that. Again, check out that video if you need to know. And then what I do is I just make a really long chain of the 3 strands of yarn. So picking the 3 strands, the 3 colors you want to use. You can be all the same color, but I recommend using 3 for the most. It's just going to be the best all around tie. I've tried to do them with just 2 and didn't like them as much as the ones with 3. Especially if you're going to use it like a headband, because some of you will see in some of my videos I use it to tie my hair back into more of a ponytail, and other times I use it more as a headband. And that's why I like the ties, and that's pretty much what I wear mostly now. So anyway, what you want to do is you want about 1.5 yards total. So to measure On the standard size lady, a yard might go from the end of your finger to your nose. If you're looking straight ahead, that will probably equal a yard. So you don't have to pull out, you know, a tape measure to do this. If you're short like me and you only have a 5-foot arm span, because that's how tall you are, then I turn my head to the side, and I find that going from the tip of my finger to the tip of my nose when I turn my head to the side works out to be right at a yard. So figure out what that yard is, and then once I get to there, usually it's about 100 stitches, 100 chains to get to a yard, and then I add another 50, so that's going to equal approximately a yard and a half. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going, and I'll skip through to the end to show you what I do after I finish the long chain. Okay, so I'm just about done with this chain, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you another way that you can measure it. So this should be right about there. So you can either count out 150 chains, but I like using the measure method in case I get distracted. I don't have to go back and start from the beginning counting all these chains. So what I do is I figure out where my yard is. Okay, that's my yard, and then I take the two ends together, and as long as this third piece ends up being about as long as this folded in half piece of the yarn, then I know I've got a yard and a half. I know I've got approximately 150 chains. Okay, and then, and I forgot to point out, when you start that, notice how much I left. I didn't leave a short little piece. You want to leave a long piece there when you first start. When you first hook the yarn to your crochet hook, you want about that much. That's probably about 5 inches or so. It can be 6 inches. It's going to be a matter of choice. And then when you cut the yarn, leave that much again on the other end. Okay, so I'm going to cut that about there. If it's too long, you can always trim it later. It's better to have it too long than too short. So, and you can see here on the ends, I've got little tassels. So then what I do is I take the 3 strands again, okay, and measure out approximately, maybe about 10 inches. And then I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to do that again. So I want 2 of those, okay, and then I'm going to take my hook. Okay, this is one of Mr. Rain's hooks here. I can do it. I can use it fine for this. And then I stick it through the end. I'm going to do this on each end. I stick it through the end of the tie, and then pull the 3 through. Make a loop and pull the 3 through like that. Okay, I'm going to hold that in place, take the hook out. Now gather up all the yarn, pieces of yarn, and then pull them through your loop, and then pull it tight. And then after I pull it tight, I take it all and put a knot in the end. That's going to make it look the best and hold it in place best as well. Making sure that knot goes right over the top of where those that yarn goes in there. Okay, and then you take your ends and you trim them so that they're all even. Okay, now let me show it again on the other end of the tie. I'll try to go a little bit slower, a little bit closer. Whoop, let me get the bigger hook. So I stick the end of the hook into the end of the tie. Notice how I'm holding this. I'm just going to grab that loop and pull it through, just like that. Okay. Now holding on to it here, pull that hook out, then stick your fingers in there, trying to keep the yarn even on the ends, and grab all the pieces of yarn and then pull them through. Okay, and then see what happens if you don't tie that knot. You may end up with it separating like that. That's another reason why you want to tie the knot over that whole shebang right there. Okay, so as you're pulling that tight, make sure you keep that aligned right over the top of that. Okay, and then you can line it up to the other end to make sure that they're same length. And this one's a little bit longer, and so I'll trim those like that. And there we go. There's your tie. So then you can just tie it around your hair and pull it back into a ponytail, sort of like what I have here, or you can wear it more as a headband, as you'll see in some of my other videos. Okay, so there's that. Now moving on to the next project, and that is making your own scrunchie. All right. What you need to do is you need to either get a hairband like this. I'd recommend a color that either matches your hair or just something very neutral. Okay, so I usually get the black ones. The other thing I recommend is getting some, which is even better yet, is getting some of this. It's basically an underwear or lingerie elastic. I bought a whole pack of a whole bunch of different colors. I have more than this from Amazon, and I'll go ahead and link to that below, because I use this in various things, and it's a real nice soft elastic. It's very, very stretchy. And then figure out how much you need to make a good band for your hair. You want to figure out, do you want to double it over? Do you want it single? It just depends on how you want it. You're going to have to play with it a little bit, but then, you know, just once you get your length the way you want it, then stitch these over really good. I recommend zigzagging over it quite a few times so it's got a good tight fit. This is going to be the best idea for overall comfort and for holding, you know, and for holding. Because the problem with these kind of bands is that, you know, these are great, but after a while, anyone who uses these, you know what happens is if the elastic in there breaks, this will stay connected, but it usually doesn't take long before the elastic inside these cheap things breaks, and then you did all this work for nothing. Okay, most of these, you know, and I found that out by trial and error, most of these were done over bands. I don't wear these that much, so I didn't really concern myself with it, but I have made some. I don't know if any of these are. I have made some using this, and this is actually made to also fold, so it won't necessarily be that wide. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use the band for today, and I couldn't decide which one I wanted to use. This is actually my favorite. I love this. This is called Macaw by Red Heart Yarn. I'll link to this below, and then this one is their Wildflowers. So I'll link to both of these below if you're interested in those yarns. They're very, very pretty yarns. Get your yarn on your hook. It doesn't matter how much you have left over. Just make sure you have enough to be able to successfully tie it off at the end. And then you're going to just start doing single crochets through, around, and through your band, whichever type of band you use. Okay, so I'm moving nice and slow so you can see how I'm doing this. So I've got it here. I simply take my hook, I go under the band, I grab the yarn and pull it up through, and then just working right over the top of the band. Okay, now the number of stitches you use is going to depend on the size of your band that you have. I do not bother counting. I just put a whole bunch of stitches on there until I get it the way I want it. And what you want to do is you're going to periodically want to scrunch them together real tight, because you're going to want a lot of stitches on this thing to make a more roughly looking one, especially when it stretches out a little bit. See the color in there? You can see this one actually had a brown band in it. Okay, so you just start working those single crochets. That's all you're doing, single crochets around the band, and just keep going around, all the way around, making it nice and tight together until you get to the end. So I'm just going to keep going, and I'll skip ahead to the end where I'm going to join the yarns together. Okay, and I forgot to say that this is a size J hook. It's another one that Mr. Rain made for me. And you can use a bigger hook if you would like. For this, I prefer to use the J on this, and I think that would be the 6mm hook, I think. Okay, so once you get to the end, you got as many stitches on there as you think you would like. Go ahead and slip stitch into that first stitch made. Okay, and now you're just going to chain, I think it's 5. Yeah, 5 chains. And then what you're going to do is you're going to work all the way around into every other single crochet. So I'm going to skip this single crochet, and then I'm going to single crochet in the next one. Okay, and then I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do 5 chains, and then skipping this one, single crochet into the next one. Okay, let me show it one more time. All right, skip this one and chain and single crochet into this one. Okay, And so you're going to keep doing that all the way around. And so again, I'm going to skip forward to the end. I'll keep going, skip forward to the end, and then show you what we do next. Okay, I've got one more chain to do, and one thing I want to say is I just so happens I have an even number of single crochets around here, which is perfect. But even if you don't, if you have one extra, then just skip over 2 when you get to the end. No big deal. Nobody's going to notice that. Okay, so once you get your last chain made, just go ahead and single or slip stitch at the base of that first chain that you started. Okay, then next you're going to want to slip stitch into the loop, into the 5 chain space right here. Okay, and then you're just going to start all over and work your way around, doing a single crochet into each loop. And if you want, you can even increase the amount of chains you're doing on this next round. That will make it even more roughly if you decide to do that. So you can go up to 6 or 7 chains. Okay, so let me go a little slower on this one. So there's 5. Okay, I go into this loop here and just single crochet right into it. Okay, so again, I'm going to complete that, going all the way around the scrunchie, and I'll skip ahead to the end of this part and then show you what we do next. Okay, so here I'm at the end. So I'm simply going to slip stitch right where that other slip stitch is on the beginning of this round. Okay, now if you want to make it even more fluffy, you know, add more to it, make it bigger, just repeat that last round. And I would say if you're going to do a third round, definitely add 6 or 7 chains instead of just 5, because it's going to stay more spread out. You know, if you really want it roughly, that's the best way to go. But I like to keep it at just 2, so I'm just going to snip off an end here. And then I like to use a smaller hook, which I forgot to bring one in. Mr. Rain made me a size G hook that I just love. And then what I like to do with my ends is I crochet them in, typically using a smaller hook than the size that I used. And I'll do that with both. So I'll crochet them in to a couple of right around a couple of pieces of yarn in the stitches themselves, and then I tie a knot. I know knots are supposed to be a no-no. I always use knots. I do the crochet in the end in as much as I can, and then knot it and try to hide the knot as best as possible. Now, most likely the knot is not going to show. Now, another option you can do with these that's really kind of fun, and I made a few of these, and I'll go ahead and put a picture right here. I made some more for little girls, and this is just to really kind of glam it up however you want, is you simply make some chains and go as long as you want, and then you can add some beads or other doodads at the end and make 3 or 4 of these. Have them, so there's a whole bunch of these dangling down. It's a really cute idea for a little girl. And, and then you can finish off your, after you get your bead or whatever it is you want to put on there, then you can finish off the end with a little tassel. Maybe not quite so big as that, but however you want to do it, that's just a really fun way to do it for little girls. Okay, well, I hope you found this video helpful. I know I had somebody asking me how I made the ties, and I hadn't even thought of doing a video on how to make the ties until somebody asked me. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I can do that. That's easy enough. So then I figured it'd be a good idea to show how to make your own scrunchie. Hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. And don't forget to check out my playlist on crochet, not just simple stuff, not just the Crochet 101, but I have a whole bunch of other projects in there, like making hairs, making baskets, all kinds of goodies in there, usually small little things, handle covers for your cast iron skillets and all kinds of stuff. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.